Hey guys, it's Teriak here. Today I'm gonna talk about how to learn Japanese first from the perspective of a native Japanese speaker. And I'll also go over some common mistakes that many learners make when studying Japanese. お前は日本人じゃないだろみたいなコメントももらったりするので、日本人ってことを証明するために一応ちょっと日本語で話させてください。私は一応日本に20年以上住んでる純日本人です。ということで今日は、日本人ネイティブとして、日本語の効率的な勉強法について話していきます。Now, I already know why most of you wanna learn Japanese. Let me guess. You wanna watch anime without English subtitles, right?
What? What?
Yeah, I knew it. Watching anime without subtitle is the ultimate experience. Actually, I really want everyone to experience how good it feels to understand anime in Japanese. Because anime is made for Japanese people, and once it's translated, the meaning often changes. The nuance, the emotion, a lot of it gets lost. That's exactly why I believe you should learn Japanese. So today I'll show you the method I personally recommend. The method I believe is the most efficient way to learn any language. Of course, I'm not saying it's effortless, but this is the method I used to go from zero to being able to speak English like this in less than a year. So let's get into it. Step 1. Start with Hiragana and Katakana. This should go without saying, but you need to learn Hiragana and Katakana first. You can't even begin without them. And here's one important tip. Read them out loud. Practice saying them like Aiueo, Kakikukeko, Sashisuseso. You need to be able to say all of them smoothly. Why? Because pronunciation is extremely hard to fix later. For example, when I first started learning English, I focused on American pronunciation. So now, even if I wanted to speak in a Liverpool accent, it's nearly impossible to change. Sadio Mane. I said it last time he's the best football player in the world.
Sadio Mane. I said it last time I was on it, he's the best football player in the world. I don't know why he's laughing for. What, Chris, why are you laughing for? Why are you laughing for? I'm being serious.
Also, I cannot stress this enough. Do not learn Japanese through Romaji. Like, take the Japanese character, Ri. In Romaji, it's written as Ri, but the actual pronunciation is closer to Li. Using Romaji will mess up your pronunciation, guaranteed. And as I said before, getting pronunciation right is important from the very beginning, because once it becomes a habit, it's very hard to change later. But here's the good news. Unlike English with its weird alphabet like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, Japanese is super logical. Once you master Aiueo, Kakikukeko,
Sadio Mane.
that's basically all the sounds you need to pronounce to speak Japanese properly. That's it. Isn't that amazing? What a beautiful language. So, from the very beginning of your Japanese journey, make sure you're pronouncing proper pronunciation, because the way you train your mouth at the start will shape your accent for the rest of your journey. Next, let's talk about grammar just a little bit. And I mean it. You only need a basic understanding of how Japanese grammar works at this stage. Why? Because even if you spend hundreds of hours memorizing grammar rules, you still won't be able to understand real Japanese or speak it. So instead of wasting time, just spend a few hours getting the basics. Now let me explain how I personally think you should study grammar. I don't believe in memorizing abstract rules like don't just learn Japanese is subject, object, verb. That doesn't help much in the real world. Instead, use example sentences and translate them using your native language structure. For example, I eat sushi becomes 私は寿司を食べます. So now try break it down in your own language like this. I sushi wo eat. And I like anime becomes 私はアニメが好きです. So you can practice like I anime ga like. This sounds really weird, but even if you don't know a single Japanese word yet, you can still start to internalize the grammar through sentence patterns like this. It's way more effective than staring at grammar charts or textbooks all day long. This method brings you closer to the real goal, being able to speak Japanese without thinking. And you can find these kinds of example sentences in popular textbooks like Genki. Or even better, you can ask ChatGPT to generate example sentences and translations for you. So use those examples to train your brain. And remember, don't spend too much time on grammar right now. Now, this is where we finally reach step 3. This is the phase where you memorize 2000 to 3000 Japanese words. I know what you're thinking. Wait, that many? Isn't that gonna take forever? Yeah, totally fair. I get it. But trust me, this vocabulary input is actually the shortcut to speaking Japanese for real. Later, a method called comprehensive input, listening to a massive amount of Japanese you can mostly understand, has become very popular. And it is a great method. In fact, in the long run, you absolutely should be using it. But here's the problem. If you start comprehensive input with almost zero vocabulary, you honestly won't understand anything. It's like watching an anime and not being able to tell whether you are hearing Japanese or your mom vacuuming in the background. Yes, comprehensive input does work, but it takes a lot of time. Babies learn languages from zero vocabulary too, but they need ears to do it. If adults try to learn like babies, it's gonna take just as long. The difference is we are not babies. Well, I know some of you are still babies out there, but we are adults who already speak our first language, so there's no reason to blindly bath in a language we don't understand at all. If you are an English speaker, use English to your advantage. First, understand the meaning of basic Japanese words through your native language. Once you do that, moments like, I know that word, where I understood the sentence, start happening more and more. And when that happens, your listening and speaking skills explode. So why 2000 to 3000 words? This number comes up a lot in language learning research. This data showing that over 80% of daily conversation can be understood with just about 2000 common words. For example, 食べる、見る、行く、来る. If you can use words these naturally, you can already handle a huge amount of real conversation. That's why I don't believe in relying on comprehensive input alone. I think learning vocabulary first is just as important. Use your native language. Understand Japanese words one by one. Spending time here is actually the fastest way to master Japanese. Now, here's something really important about memorizing vocabulary. The key is frequency, not intensity. Don't try to memorize words perfectly in one go. Don't spend a long time on each word. Instead, spend less than 1 second per word and just keep moving forward. On your first run, you won't remember anything. That's normal, but by the time you've gone through the list 10 times, you suddenly realize, wait, I actually remember a lot of these. If you spend a long time trying to memorize a word once, you probably forget it the next time you see it anyway. So the most efficient method is simple. Move fast, repeat often, and cycle through vocabulary as many times as possible. That's how actually words stick. Now that you've done all the fundamental work, it's finally time for what I really recommend. Immersion learning. You've probably heard of it before. It's basically learning by watching tons of Japanese movies, anime, or shows. Just like I said in the beginning, the goal here is to be able to understand and speak Japanese without having to think about it. So to reach that level, you need to expose yourself to a huge amount of Japanese input and train your brain to process it automatically. Personally, I think practicing speaking to Adi is not very helpful if your Japanese skills are still low. Forcing yourself to talk can just lead to making weird sentences, struggling to say anything at all, or reinforcing bad habits. That's why input lots and lots of input is so important. Immersion learning is the method I personally use when learning English, and it helped me a lot. Okay, my English still sucks sometimes, but it's thanks to this method I made so much progress so quickly. And the best part, you get to watch your favorite anime or movies while learning. What's not to love? And it also makes studying feel way less like a chore and way more like something fun and sustainable. But there's something I want to be super clear about. Just watching stuff with subtitles without thinking, that won't help much. Here are my personal tips for making immersion learning actually effective. First, rewatch the same content over and over. Repetition is the key. It's just how our brains work. We need to see and hear the same words and sentences again and again before they finally stick. So if you're a beginner, if you're watching random new anime episodes every day, it all just sounds like Playboy County lyrics. To fix that, make sure you keep seeing and hearing the same vocabulary and grammar patterns. In other words, don't keep jumping to new shows all the time. Stick with the same anime or videos and rewatch them. The repetition is what makes Japanese start to feel familiar instead of overwhelming. Second, rewatch content you've already seen in English, now in Japanese. If you've already watched the show in English and know what's going on, you understand who's saying what and what the scene means. The way you can guess the meaning of Japanese lines without stopping to look up every word. It's way easier to connect Japanese sentences to emotions and meaning you already understand. This is huge, especially for beginners. Understanding the story first removes a lot of stress and it allows your brains to focus purely on the Japanese itself. That's when learning becomes faster and way more enjoyable. Third, start with content that's slightly above your current level. This one's huge. If you watch something way too difficult for your level, you're basically just listening to background noise. So you need to choose content that's just challenging enough. Something where you understand some, but not a lot, and you can grow into it. It's okay if you don't get everything. What matters is that you can catch enough to stay motivated and keep improving. And this is where LingoPie really comes in handy. LingoPie is an innovative language learning platform that uses TV shows, movies, and anime to help you learn languages while actually enjoying yourself. It has a built-in difficulty filter, so it's super easy to find shows that match your level, especially if you're a beginner. Plus, you can adjust the playback speed, which makes the perfect tool for getting started with immersion learning. This video is sponsored by LingoPie, but I wanna be upfront and say I actually used LingoPie when I was learning English and it really helped me. That's exactly why I'm confidently sharing it with you now. And my favorite feature when I was using LingoPie, definitely the interactive subtitles. You can click on any word in the subtitles and see the meaning instantly. And save it straight to your flashcards. Then later, you can review those words as your own custom vocabulary list. No need to Google the word. No need to write it down manually. Even someone lazy like me could keep going with my studies. It also has an AI pronunciation checker, so it's not just listening practice. It helps with your speaking too. Let me show you how it works. 試しに If you're serious about learning Japanese through anime or dramas, LingoPie is honestly the best tool I've used. Try the 7-day free trial link is in my description. Another great thing about immersion learning is that it helps you naturally pick up the rhythm and intonation of Japanese. Let me explain from a native Japanese speaker's point of view. When someone sounds native in Japanese, it's often because they've mastered the rhythm, not just the vocabulary or grammar. Japanese rhythm is totally different from English. English is what we call a stress-timed language. That means some syllables are stronger and longer, while others are short and weak, creating a bouncy rhythm with strong accent. But Japanese, it's a more timed language. That means every sound unit, like each Hiragana character, is pronounced with almost equal lengths and timing. So for example, the word McDonald in English might be quick and choppy, but in Japanese, it becomes McDonaldo. 5 even beats like a metronome. This rhythm thing was one of the hardest parts when I was learning English. So if you were coming from a stress time language, it would definitely feel different at first. But mastering this Japanese rhythm is really the key to sounding like a native speaker. Another reason immersion learning is so helpful is intonation. Japanese has a lot of words that look the same but have totally different meanings depending on how you say them. For example, ame means rain. Ame means candy. Same spelling, completely different meaning. And the only way to get used to this is to listen a lot and let your brains absorb it naturally. Trying to memorize all the pitch patterns by textbook, honestly, that's just painful. It's way easier and more effective to hear them over and over again in context. And that's exactly why immersion learning is such an amazing method. It trains your ears to pick up all those subtle sounds, the rhythms, the pitch, the flow, just like how native speakers actually speak. It's not just about understanding the words, it's about feeling the language. One question I get asked a lot is it actually okay to learn Japanese from anime? People say it will make your speech sound weird or unnatural, but honestly, I don't really agree with that. And that's because I actually know a few people who learn Japanese only from anime, and now they speak totally natural Japanese. But seriously, here's why I still believe anime can be a great way to learn Japanese. First, strange speaking styles are easy to fix. For me personally, I strongly believe that compared to pronunciation, which is very hard to fix once it becomes a habit, fixing a strange speaking style is actually pretty easy. If you spend time talking with real Japanese people, those weird anime phrases will gradually fade away. You naturally start speaking more like a real person. And even if your phrasing is a little off, as long as you understood, that's what really matters. If your pronunciation is wrong, people might not understand you at all. But if your sentence ending sounds like it came from an anime, people will still get what you mean. So, you can just fix it as you go. Second, not all anime is exaggerated. Another reason is that there are actually a lot of anime that sound just like real life conversations. Sure, shonen anime like Naruto or Dragon Ball aren't the best for language learning. But shows like Doraemon, which is aimed at kids, use very clear, natural Japanese, perfect for beginners. And more recent shoujo anime like The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, My Dress Up Darling, have supernatural, everyday conversations that are great for learners. So yes, anime isn't just one thing, there are tons of genres and many of them are ideal for studying real Japanese. Also, I actually learned a lot of English from GTA, so honestly learning Japanese from Yakuza like a dragon might not be such a bad idea either. So if you mess up your Japanese, just chop off your pinky and call it even.
Fuck, man. Get your ass on, boy.
3. Learning what you love is always the fastest way. Finally, the biggest reason. The best way to learn is to learn through what you love. If you study Japanese through anime, you might not even feel like you're studying. And that makes it so much easier to stay motivated long term. And let's be real, a lot of people start learning Japanese because they wanna watch anime without subtitles. So why not learn directly from anime? It ties directly to your goal and makes the journey way more fun. So yes, don't let anyone tell you anime is a bad way to learn. Just be mindful of what shows you're watching and balance it with other forms of input too. But if anime is what keeps you coming back to Japanese every day, then that's not a problem. That's your superpower. Do you really need to learn kanji? This is another question I get asked a lot by my viewers, and honestly, it's a really tough one. To give you the short answer, I recommend learning kanji slowly and steadily while doing immersion learning. You don't need to rush, but at the same time, it really depends on your goal. If you want to pass exams like JLPT, N1 or N2, or work in Japan, then yes, you absolutely need to study kanji. There's no way around it. But if your main goal is just to enjoy anime without subtitles, then no, you don't need to stress out about kanji right now. That's it. I recently came across this guy online who shares some really interesting thoughts about kanji. So check out this clip.
As an English Japanese translator, any advice to those who just started learning Japanese now?
This, you might not want to hear this, but study kanji. Kanji is so important. But for people like me from non-kanji countries, it's the hardest thing. But I really recommend kanji. The first 300 kanji are very difficult. But if you can get past the first 300, the next 1,700 take the same time as the first 300 to learn because they're just combinations. 65% of the Japanese language is what's called jukugo. And the jukugo is this word made up of two kanji. If you understand kanji, when Japanese hear that word, they've sort of like got the internal dictionary and they break down this word into the two kanji. And even if they've never heard it before, they can understand what it means. But if you don't know kanji, you can't do that. And that's 60% of Japanese language.
Honestly, he explained the Japanese language even better than a lot of native speakers. He has a real talent for breaking things down logically. One thing he said really stuck with me. Even when Japanese people hear a word they've never heard before, they can often guess the meaning just by imagining the kanji. I thought this is so true. He also talked about homophones, words that sound exactly the same but have different meanings. For example, sentakusuru means to do laundry, and sentakusuru means to make a choice. Same pronunciation, completely different meanings. But if you know the kanji, it's easy to remember which is which. On top of that, I really believe that studying kanji can dramatically improve your overall Japanese language efficiency. Even if you're doing immersion learning, you still need to read Japanese subtitles. So, if you can read kanji, you'll be able to understand things faster and observe more from your immersion practice. As a native Japanese speaker, I can tell you if your sentence is written in only Hiragana, it becomes so hard to read. That's just how Japanese is meant to be written. So yes, kanji is hard, but it's also something you should not run away from. You don't need to cram it all at once. Just start little by little whenever you have time and keep combining it with immersion learning. So let's go over everything I shared in this video. Step 1. Master Hiragana and Katakana. Now all the basic characters first. Please don't study Japanese using Romaji, focusing on pronouncing each kana clearly, like aiueo, kakikukeko, sa. Why? Because fixing your pronunciation later is much harder. Start clean from the beginning. Step 2. Learn grammar just a few hours. Don't spend weeks on grammar. A few hours is enough. One of my favorite tricks is using your own native language but in Japanese word order, like saying I sushi wo eat instead of I eat sushi. Even if you don't fully understand Japanese yet, this helps your brain observe the grammar patterns naturally. Step 3. Learn 2000 to 3000 core vocabulary words. This might feel like a deterrent, but it's actually the fastest route. Why? Because over 80% of daily conversation happens within this word range. Don't try to memorize everything in one go. Just go through the words quickly again and again. The goal is repetition, not perfection. Step 4. Immersion learning. Listen to Japanese every single day, but there is a catch. You need to see and hear the same words and sentences multiple times. That's why I recommend rewatching shows, especially ones you've already seen in English. That way you already know what's happening, so you can focus more on the Japanese. Also, make sure to pick content that's just barely understandable for you. Too hard, and it's just noise. Too easy, and you won't learn. And utilize like LingoPie and those kind of tools for you, so that you can learn efficiently. This is the learning method I personally recommend. It's what I used when I started learning English from zero, and in just a year, I reached the level I'm at now. So I generally believe this is a solid, proven method, and this is my most effective way of studying. But at the end of the day, it's really important to learn from different kinds of media, think things through on your own, and customize what you learn. That's what will make your studying much more efficient. So, if this video helped you even a little, please hit the like button. It really helps boost that views. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.